It's the South Florida Morning Show with Jennifer Ross and Bill Adams on NewsTalk 850 WFTL.
Every generation of Americans has been called to make shared sacrifices for the good of the nation. In World War II, young people in their teenage years volunteered to fight. They wanted to fight so badly because they love our country. And now it's our time. We must sacrifice together because we are all in this together, and we'll come through together.
There's a big part of the president's address opening up the press conference yesterday, Jen. He's basically saying he's a wartime president. That's met with a lot of criticism. I actually like it. I like the focus, and I think that all plays into the unity.
Well, yeah, it plays into the unity. It plays into, then it trickles down. You know, it goes from the president, then it goes to senators, and then the governors, and then the governors send it to the mayors and Congress people and everybody else. So everybody's got to work together. This isn't, the Democrats didn't start this. The Republicans didn't start it.
Let's throw the partisan politics out the window on this one.
You got to be safe. And West Palm Beach, our city, the mayor, Keith James, who's nice enough to come by at least once a month and give us an update. Mayor, you declared a state of emergency, about 2 weeks ago or a week ago in regard to the coronavirus? What does that do?
Yeah, actually,
go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Actually, we declared it earlier this week. What it does is it gives us flexibility. If we need to establish curfews down the road, if we need to implement some emergency procurement procedures to get goods in that we might need or equipment in that we might need, we could bypass the normal procurement policies. We can make provisions for temporary emergency housing. It just gives us more flexibility to make the decisions that we need to address some of the issues and concerns that might come up.
Mayor, does that give the city any special powers to, in other words, close a business if you feel fit temporarily, even though maybe surrounding cities wouldn't? Does that give you more leeway in that direction?
Well, it does give us some flexibility. Obviously, we are encouraging businesses, whether it's restaurants, whether it's bars, whether it's retail, to be very conscious of the time that we are in now. We much rather have it be a self-regulation, self-governing, and I'm happy to say that there are a number of restaurants in the area, a number of bars that have heeded the call for self-regulation. And so we do have some extended powers legally. I'm reluctant to exercise those, and I'm trying to use the carrot as opposed to the stick at this point.
Good for you.
Well,
good for you being
thing.
Judicious about it. I think that's the way to go.
Well, I think, is the library still open in downtown?
The library has been open on a very limited basis. We will probably take steps in the next day or two to shut that down completely. But the library, here's the balance that we have to strike, particularly as a municipal leader. And I understand the concerns about social distancing, and we're doing everything we can. But there are certain services that we provide, whether it's at the library, whether it's through the city, through other functions, that people rely on, quite frankly.
Yep.
Some folks, that's their only lifeline. If they're trying to get jobs or apply for certain benefits, are the computers at the library. So we're trying to balance the needs of the people and the services that we provide against, obviously, the health risk here. And it's a juggling act, quite frankly, and it's difficult. But we will probably take more aggressive steps to minimize the library activity over the next couple of days.
I think you have the right approach. Again, I'll say it again, because not every mayor in every city and municipality across the country has the same approach. It's either been all or nothing. I like that you're, like you said, using the carrot instead of the stick on this. But as far as city meetings go themselves, city commission meetings, we just went through a primary as well. Has that affected your inner city day-to-day business?
No. Now, what we're doing is we have our internal meetings. We're having them in larger rooms so that we do have this. We're abiding by the social distancing guidelines. We will continue to have city commission meetings. We have one coming up on Monday evening. It's in a relatively large room. We got to continue to do the business of the city.
That's right.
And so we're trying to be very conscious. We are very conscious of what the guidelines are there from a social distancing. But we can't totally shut the city down at this point because there are too many functions that are vital to our citizens.
Mayor Keith James, the mayor of West Palm Beach, our guest at the South Florida Morning Show at 850 WFTL. What about first responders, Mayor, and the police? Are they taking different approaches as well?
Well, obviously, they're being a lot more careful. one of the problems we're having is a shortage of what we call PPEs or personal protection equipment. They are utilizing that a lot more extensively. They have developed different protocols. If someone calls and says they're exhibiting symptoms, we are not putting them in our regular ambulance. We have another vehicle that we're able to take out to sites to put them in there to check them out, obviously check temperatures from a distance so that we can get a better sense. So they've adjusted their protocols to responding to health emergencies to try to account for the possibility that there might be someone who is carrying the virus and obviously protecting themselves. And hats off to our first responders, whether it's police, whether it's fire, because they are truly on the front lines of this epidemic, of this pandemic.
Mayor, we've heard of quite a few hospitals, actually, throughout the country that are trying to make some extra space just in case if they need extra, hospital bed space, actually putting up some temporary, housing outside. Our local hospitals, have you heard of any plans of anything like that?
I have not heard of any. We've been in touch with them, with the CEOs there. Obviously, they have their hands very full, so I'm kind of on a need-to-know basis. I'm not trying to pester them with a lot of questions because I know they're doing everything, but I've not heard directly about any actions like that. But I'm sure that all of our local hospitals are taking every precaution, every step they can to address the situation.
I got a really bizarre question for you, and it might be a real easy answer, and I'm just not really bright. If the county, say Palm Beach County, passes a law that says all bars have to close at 5 o'clock, you don't have to follow that, right, because you're a separate municipality?
That's correct. But again, what we're trying to do is have a coordinated approach to this. I was just on the phone with the mayor of Palm Beach earlier. I've been in touch with the mayor of Boca. I'm going to try to get a hold of the county. Listen, we need a unified front because this disease knows no boundaries, right? I mean, so it doesn't make sense for the county to do something and for us to do something different and Riviera Beach to do a third thing because that's not really helping the public. It's confusing, and for the purposes of trying to get people to stay in place is not really moving the ball. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that I'm coordinating with as many of the local officials in the area as possible, as well as the county, to see if we can start singing from the same page of the hymnal.
Okay, that's a great approach.
It's a great approach and coordinated effort. We think is going to be the key. I tell you what else. And by the way, WPB.org is the City of West Palm Beach website. There obviously have been a lot of closures, postponements. That is the site to pay attention to, Mayor Keith James, when we start to reopen again. Because I'm telling you, that first clematis by night is going to be booming.
Oh yes. And listen, we don't know when that will be, but we know it will come. We're going to get through this, people. But we all have to hunker down. Listen, it's what we do with a hurricane, right? Now, this is different from a hurricane because we don't know the length. We don't know yet the size of the storm, if you will. But there will be another side. We will come out on the other side of this. We will be stronger as a city.
Yep.
It may be a new normal, but we're going to get there. And yes, we will have a clematis by night, and it will be a party for all. But let's heed the words of caution. Please stay close. Do what's necessary to distance yourself from others. Be safe. Be informed. And be well.
Beautiful.
So that parking ticket I got, you're just gonna,
here we go.
You're going to let that go by, right? It's like I got a pass.
Yeah. Just mail it to me. Don't bring it to me. Mail it to me.
And his address is?
We'll take a look at it.
Mayor Keith James, thanks for doing a great job, but also thanks for always being a friend of the show, coming on and always updating us. You're welcome anytime. Thanks again.
And we'll be back. We'll be back to talk. Thank you for having me.
Okay, buddy. Thanks again. Look at you working in the personal deal.
I was trying.
Wow.